Hey guys, and we're going to be playing some phrase tag, which is actually a popular game right now. Cause look at that, look at those views, look at all those likes. Okay, so let's join in. This looks fun. Oh, you get to customize a snowman. I want to customize my snowman. Okay. Wait, what? You code? Wait, what? Oh yes, please. I get to. Yes. Oh my god. Whoa! 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 Run, Tori. Are you late? I'm running. What? What? What do I do? Ah! Oh god. Which I love it. Help! Yeah, no one at all. Yep, this is gonna suck. Oh. Somebody cares, at least. Oh! Whoa! That's all fun. Oh no, someone's frozen. I can't go. I have to follow the rules? Oh damn, there's so many red food in them. Okay, so let's try. Okay. Hide here. So no one can find me. And then Right! Yes! Ah! Thank you! No one cares! Oh god, he's probably going up. Ah, he knew it! He got me as soon as he jumped right up. Alright, let's see. Oh, shoot. What do I do? How do I improve it? If I can't... Ah! I saved you! Ah! I got frozen again! Well, oh, she got frozen again. Oh no! You don't see it right there? She got frozen. Look. She got frozen again. That poor girl. Help! Hey! No! Help! Help! Help me! Help me! Help me! Help! excuse me, but how did you get a kitty? What's very important? What? Did I get anything? A pet? I want a pet. Oh! Is there a Doge? Is that a Doge? That better be a Doge. Are these the available ones? I can get a... No! 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 I want a kitty! I want a kitty! I want a kitty! I want to see the kitty! Did I get the kitty? Oh no, I didn't! Oh, I'm attacked! Yes! Meh, meh. Meh, like her! Going. Dang. I wanted to play for him. Took my thunder. Oh, the poor kitty! What's that? Okay, that was weird. Oh! Oh! Got her! There she goes. I'm faster than you. Now I'm faster than no. What? It's oh my god, no! Whoa! Whoa! What was that? I need a faster speed boost. What? Oh wait. Whoever that is, it's funny. Wow! I'm so happy. I never get any time to run. My thunder! You already stole my thunder a long time ago. I stole your thunder. What's that hole? Look at that hole is. Woo! So pretty! Oh, there's purple! Oh, there's also blue. Oh, it's very nice. Oh. Whoa. Oh, that was so cool. Was that a floating lamp? So it helped. No one's here, girl. Girl, no one's here. Ugh! Girl, no one's here. Girl, no one's here. Congratulations, you got a free rare. Where? Open? Woo! I'm going on. What is that? could go on top. What? I want the black. Let me get the black. Wait, wait, wait. I want to get the black. Awesome. Ah! That's stuck. Wait! Where's all my hair? Where's my hair? What? How do I do that? Oh, I thought he was like one of the boys. Let me try to stay on the fancy I hate light. Oh my god. What? How did Runners not win? What? Okay, well, I don't care. I'm just gonna go back here and get my pet. Okay, what I wanted was this one. I can get it! Yes! There's a freaking unicorn! Damn. But I want this one. This one's making me happy. Where'd it go? Oh, there it's right there. No, wait! No! 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 I wonder what this is. You have shockwave boost selected. Yes, I wanted that boost. I just wanted to know what it was. Wait, no! No! Your attacker. But I wanted to know what this is. I wanted to know what crap was that. Oh, so another. Oh, I thought. Whoa, what was that? What? My dog is shaking. Oh, yeah. No one can escape me. I am a god. I am a god. I am just oh my god. Right, like this. Oh. Go! Hey! Got to go after. Oh wait. Oh. You guys, do you want to see my cookie? Look like dog cookie. Oh, is he still moving? What is this like? Ha 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 ha. No, yo, no. He is still shaking! What is wrong with you? I think you're shaking for that. Dog, do I need to be people? I like how you don't sound like the dude. No! I don't want to open the crate! Meh! I have to stop my enemies. Which are the runners. Oh, I have to nope, not today! All frozen. Yep, girl. Stop it so shaky. I'm worried about that. Oh yay! I want to open the crate. Okay, open rare crate. I swear to God, the galaxy was right here. I want it. Oh no, it's not. It's not gonna be right. Is it? Oh no! No! My face has been crushed. Wait, it's purple, but I want. And I want the hair! I'm dead inside now. Oh, it's stuck! Oh, it's stuck! Oh, I thought it was stuck. You okay there, George? working anymore. Yay! You ain't working. Alright, well, what was I doing this whole time? Oh, you stole my thunder! Oh! I saw that! I saw that! Get back! Oh, he's cheating. Too late! I'm gonna talk. That's it. Oh! Shh. Oh, 50%. What? What? Oh, it's for the Roblox. Wow. Let's see if I can choose a different one. I like the kitty, but... What? I need to change. Change. Yeah, remove. And I'm gonna wear this. That's purple. No! No, wait, my hair, no! It's gone, no! No, wait, what's this? Invisibility? What? Yes. But I wanna know! No! 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 I don't wanna know! Ball, no! Ah, damn. Ah, what's someone's problem? He just went past me like nothing. Like, well, I don't see anything, so that, oh, I thought he was a tiger. No, I thought she was a tiger. Meh. Like $1,000. Oh my god. Girl. Oh shit! I can't teleport anymore. I'm gonna save her, but I have to do it. Oh my god! Save a girl's life. Save your life. Oh! I can't do it right now. I am the best. I am the best. I am the best. Oh! Just save me. Please, I want the hair so bad. Wait, I saw it. No, hit it. Hit the hair! No, my hopes and dreams are gone. They're gone. Thank you, girl. Oh. Oh, it's a him! Wow. Woo! Oh my god. I only got frozen once. What? Never mind. Never mind what I just said. I got frozen twice. I was like a ninja. Oh crap. Guys, you need the invisibility. You need it. That's what I started doing. But apparently it doesn't work that. It doesn't last that long. Which sucks because I need invisible. I need that high. Oh yes. Oh! Oh my god! Oh. Let's save all the fun! All the people are frozen. Whatever. Alright, so all I need to do is put on here. Where? Alright. Okay, so that I guess this is gonna be it for Roblox freeze tag. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like before you go. Subscribe to my channel because I new videos every single day. Except that I did this week. I love you guys and I will see you guys soon because of the holidays. Yeah.